Executive Nelson, your platform calls for putting a check on foreign imported goods, saying it will improve national industry, and you cite the Chinese economy as an example of this working. However, as we saw during Trump's tariff wars and during the current supply chain issues, our country is not currently equipped to handle a lack of imports from other countries. Can you go into more detail on how you would shape America's trade policy, and how long do you think it would take to make our economy resilient enough to handle that change?
Great. This is great because this is the centerpiece of my campaign. One of the first planks I have is on economic security. And the reason why trade has to be top order when we talk about U.S. foreign policy and representative from Wisconsin is because Wisconsin being one of the top manufacturing states in the country, the Chinese have eaten our lunch. We've had awful trade deals. And it's not just because of what international competitors like what China does, but it's what our own representatives do and how they have not served us. Trade deal after trade deal under Democratic administrations and Republican administrations have hurt the American worker. Now, I think what we need to do is we have to have an aggressive policy. And yes, that makes sure that we start negotiating trade deals from the perspective of the American worker. But I think we have to go beyond trade. This country, we need a national industrial strategy. And we are one of the only countries that does not have that. What that simply does is it puts all these different economic issues under one umbrella. And you craft this policy from the perspective of the local community, from the worker, from the small business. And because we did not do that, and because every other developed country in the world in the 1970s and 1980s did that, American manufacturing took a nosedive. It wasn't because of the American worker. It wasn't because of the American manufacturer. It was because of the U.S. government. And both Democratic and Republican administrations are to blame for this. And this is such an important issue, something that I've dealt with on the front lines. As county executive, one of the high points of my service was working with a local labor union to save a paper mill. And I wrote a book about it. And in that, we talk a lot about economic policy and national industrial policy, because this is something that if we can help save a paper mill, if we can stand up to the big banks, not only can we win here economically, but we can win politically. The big change, the tectonic shift in the electoral votes in politics has not just been from the city to the urban to the deep red parts, but we're talking about the manufacturing community, small manufacturing communities between 20 and 40,000. That is where Democrats have lost hundreds of thousands of jobs. We've lost hundreds of thousands of jobs because we've not spoken about economics, we've not talked about trade, and we have surrendered this issue to Donald Trump. And that is a tragedy. It's a tragedy because Democrats know better. We should have done it before, and we haven't. And when I go to the U.S. Senate, I'm going to be a U.S. Senator in the mold of Sherrod Brown, someone who's going to make trade a top issue, and make it a top issue because this is what you need to do. This is one of the top manufacturing states in the country. We owe that, and we need to have someone who has the experience, who worked on this issue at the local and the state level.